Hello, everyone. I think we have all our panelists here, and we look to be joined by, a great number of attendees. So great to see some interest in our webinar this afternoon. My name is Mark Dunn. I'm sales manager here at number 25. Thanks for taking the time to join us this afternoon. We'll be chatting to our panel of experts, including Romy McAuley, our certified solemniser, Anna Finlay, director of Blooming Amazing Florists in Ranelagh, and of course our own Stephen Sheridan, event operations manager here at number 25. So over the next 35 or so minutes, we'll just be chatting all things weddings really. What we've been seeing over the last couple of months, and I suppose our predictions as well into the summer months and beyond. For guests joining us that aren't familiar with the venue, number 25 is an exclusive hire venue located along Dublin's Georgian Mile. It was once a family home for well over 100 years, but more recently we've been operating as a luxury private hire venue and hosting intimate private dining events and weddings since 2012. I suppose a little more recently, we have been really lucky to be able to continue delivering weddings within guidelines of the 25 to 50 people when permitted. And I think we'll chat to Stephen in just a couple of minutes on, well, to get some insight onto how those weddings have ran and how they look. And I suppose just to get an overall feel for the micro wedding at 25. But to start, maybe with myself, as I mentioned, I'm sales manager here at the venue. My role is very much to look after couples from inquiry stage right through to the event day when we hand over to Stephen. In the last couple of months, that has meant that I've gotten to know couples a lot better than I probably would in the past, and that's just been as we've kind of moved through the different guidelines and hurdles that have been thrown at us. But as I say, we've been very lucky to deliver lots of weddings, and a lot of that has been really down to a lot of flexibility and patience, and that was with the couples that we've dealt with and of course are still in the books. We still have couples that are on their third date at this stage. So patience, I suppose, has been key for the last couple of months, and I'd like to think that we've played our part too in offering as much flexibility to couples on date changes and postponements, while we have been available to book for ceremony only bookings in level 5. Really, we've found that there isn't much appetite, and that has really been, I think, down to I think couples have just drawn a line when their immediate family members can't be in attendance, and that's totally fair. But you know, looking ahead for the rest of 2021, the couples that I'm working with and speaking with, there seems to be a real appetite to get the show on the road, and I think that will come with the green light of weddings of 25 guests. I think we're all sitting on the edge of our seat today, waiting to see what the updated COVID recovery plan, or living with COVID, has to tell us, and what it means for us as both an industry and of course the couples. But you know, I think we're all ready anyway for when we do get that green light. But as I mentioned, we have Stephen. Stephen joins us on our panel and is event operations manager here at number 25. Stephen, you have been successfully delivering weddings now since July. Could you maybe talk us through a little bit of Well, I suppose just the flow of the day, has it changed? What's it like compared to a wedding 2 years ago? How has it been for you?
Good afternoon, Mark. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Um, to be honest, we're always striving to make every wedding special in 25. And so that is regardless of the numbers, whether it be 25 guests or 50, that hasn't changed from our perspective. The beauty of number 25 of the house is that it lends itself to any numbers, uh, just with the layout of the house and how it runs during the day. I mean, your day will start if you're having your ceremony with us. Your guests arrive, we'll direct them up to the ceremony room. We have the rooms downstairs reserved for the bridal parties or the couples parties, and then after that, obviously it's over to Romy or the celebrants, and then we then bring people downstairs then for a canopy drinks reception. And that lasts for as long as couples want. And then we run through to the main event of the day with us really is the dining experience. It is something that is very, very special in number 25.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I think like it's funny. It's in a way it's funny how little it's changed for us almost. I suppose dinner has always been the highlight for us. The meal, the service, that's always been what we do best. And the format of the day, even moving through the house, has remained pretty much the same.
totally,
Like I suppose the biggest impacts on um, uh, weddings at the moment, from our perspective, has yes, it has been the numbers, but it's been the finish time and the entertainment. And we might talk about that in a little while. But I think most of the couples that I show around, mostly virtual nowadays, but they're really keen just to get an understanding of the feel for the wedding, the atmosphere of the day. Um, and I suppose you as the person that's standing in the corner of the room for most of the day overlooking, how have you felt the atmosphere of a wedding has changed since July, I would say?
not that much, to be honest. They're still obviously really special days. And as I say, even with 25 guests, people, people have the guests there that they really want to have there. Obviously, they'd like to have a few more, but and when we were doing the larger weddings, that was possible. But obviously, Zoom has helped with that for ceremonies. What I found is that a lot of couples have come back to me during the day or at the end of the day, feeling that they've had so much time to interact with the guests as
Yeah,
opposed to if it was a larger wedding. And a lot of them actually have said that it's the day we didn't realize we wanted. So the expectation is there, but a lot of couples aren't really sure what the expectation is. But on the day, they're absolutely thrilled with how things have progressed.
yeah, yeah. I think even for myself, as I say, Stephen, you're the guy that's here, and you're the guy that makes it happen. But I often drop in, as I say, for purely on ornamental purposes. But I like to be here for the ceremony, and often we're the last people that see the bride or the couples walk up the aisle. Um, and I've just found the emotion is still there, it's still
Totally.
hugely emotional. And, when they walk in the door, the people that they see are just, it's immediate family and friends. And for me, it certainly hasn't gotten any, I don't feel any less, there might be some less guests, but overall it feels very similar. Um,
Totally. And actually, Mark, that's where Zoom has come in, like really has just like changed the whole the everything on in relation to ceremonies. We've had guests from every corner of the globe, from every continent over the last
yeah,
year.
yeah, we've become proper international. But and like aside from the physical side of the crowd, obviously you have a lot more to consider now, just in terms of health and safety. And how, I suppose, how has that been for you, or how is that for the guest? How has it impacted on the guest experience? I know just from our conversations, there's certain points that you might even take with you into the future.
Totally. I mean, in relation to health and safety, we have the procedures in place. Like We have a temperature check for everyone coming in. We have sanitizer all over the house. When people are seated for dinner, there is sanitizers on each table, even down to when microphones have been passed around, hand-free microphones for speeches. They come with an individual little sanitizer bottle. But in relation to the service, we've made some subtle but distinct changes to the service. A lot of guests at the moment have asked during service, are the white gloves result of COVID? But that is the service level that we have had for a couple of years. The service for dinner is a 5-star white glove experience. Really, really beautiful and really refined, and everyone loves it. It's quite a wow factor. It involves the teams circling the table, synchronized service of each course, and the same for clearing. What we had to adjust was not minute things, but smaller things like service of bread and butter. So each guest now gets an individual plate of that. And all the main course plates are complete in that they come with all the sides on them. But saying that, you know, if people would like more, there's always more individual available. Even down to like tea and coffee service. Obviously, it's poured individually for people, but the team are going around pouring milk and serving sugar individually as well. So there's no shared anything.
It's just the little nitty gritty that I suppose we just don't think about. But yeah, it's amazing. And I suppose, like, in terms of, I suppose then you have the wedding cake as well. The wedding cake has to be considered. That's all individual portions as well, I assume.
Well, yes, completely. And what's actually worked really well about that is because people are now opting to stay seated at the tables for most of the after the meal. What we have been doing is maybe having dessert and then people having speeches, and then with cutting of the cake, and then we take that away. And then after speeches, we would bring it out, serve it individually with maybe tea and coffee service. So it gives another element to the whole meal experience.
Just it draws out that experience a little bit more.
Yeah.
And tell me, so I suppose trends then, talking trends on food and beverage. You know, I hear, like, from what we've seen, I suppose with the smaller number, you know, guests of 25, we'd say, compared to maybe couples that have had a wedding planned for 100 to 150. What are we seeing there? What are they doing for their guests now versus what they might have done previously?
Well, the emphasis is all in the food and beverage offering. Extended menus, more choices on each course. And I mean, you know, as you know, we go down, we offer each individual guest individual menus. If somebody has a particular dietary requirement, they get their own individual menu. And it's down to small things, but things like couples are going for a his and hers cocktail, or a hers and hers, or a his and his. And that could be offered during the day, and then it could be offered after the meal. You know, we have an amazing range of obviously wines, prosecco's, and champagnes, but the whole emphasis really is on the meal and the whole experience on that. And you know, we try and offer the amazing service to go with, you know, with chef's food.
Yeah. And Stephen, later in the evening then, so it's a bit of a hot potato entertainment. So I suppose Maniac 2000 is out for this year, am I right?
Yes.
No rock the boat.
No rock the boat, yeah.
Tell me, what have couples been doing?
People have just been enjoying the experience of sitting at a table again with other people, and you know, being able to converse and eat and drink and just be social. So I think that's why people are loving being able to sit at the table for the entire day and going into the evening. People have been, you know, couples have been giving us playlists, which, you know, we happily play at each stage during the day. We also offer couples the chance to have a first dance. There's a nice space at the top of Ganton 1 beside the top table where there's a little bit of space so they can have a first dance there themselves. And yeah, right behind you, Mark. And and that's lovely. So everyone's seated at their own tables, can experience that, and there's nice photo opportunities. And you know what? It's really, really been lovely. It's really worked really well.
Yeah, I don't think we can deny couples their first dance, to be fair.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, like, look, I think overall the day remains the same. Yes, it is a different atmosphere later in the evening, I think is probably where the main difference is seen. But when you're talking those intimate numbers, when you're talking 25 guests, it really would be, for me, it would feel like forced fun to have anything too much in terms of entertainment. And a lot of these people, like when you're talking, these are your nearest and dearest, and in a lot of cases, mightn't have seen them all that much over the last year. So exactly. I think that the conversation is far more cherished than whatever Saturday Night Fever, but yeah, no, look, Stephen, that's been brilliant. I suppose one of the other big elephants in the room is closing time. I think it's everyone talks about the crystal ball, but closing time is really crystal ball territory for the next couple of months. Do you see any predictions yourself? What do you think is going to play out?
I don't know. I mean, look, as I would say, good advice to any couple is just, keep an open mind as to what's happening, lean on your suppliers and on us for advice. We will obviously go, as long as we can. But as we've seen, people are starting to maybe organize their weddings and time their weddings a little bit earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So by 11:30, they've had a full day, and it's just the way it is at the moment. And to be honest, it doesn't really take away from the whole wedding day. I haven't seen that anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you say, I think leaning on your suppliers. I mean, some of the brides and grooms that have picked up the phone to me in the last couple of months and maybe stewed on something all weekend or all week, concerned about this and that and rumors, a lot of it rumors, but pick up the phone, have a conversation with your suppliers. It will do wonders for your mental health and just talking out, the different options, because there is options, no matter what we're facing, there will be options. But yeah, as you said, leaning on your suppliers, we better get onto some of our suppliers. Anna Finlay, director of Blooming Amazing, also joins us this afternoon. Anna, you can let yourself off mute there. But Anna, you had a lovely article in the Times last weekend. I believe you had a very strong Valentine's weekend. It's great to hear that romance is alive and well in Ranelagh.
Romance is alive and kicking. Yeah, absolutely. I think people are just desperate to meet up in some way. And I mean, really, the messages were amazing. It wasn't just girlfriends, boyfriends. It was mums and dads to their kids. It was all sorts of things. It was just unbelievable. And people, I mean, the messages were really, really long. So we were, busy writing sort of nearly letters for everyone. But it was quite amazing. Yeah, people are keen to celebrate. And we definitely see that in the wedding sector. I mean, we've probably been busier with small weddings this year than we would normally be. I know in number 25, you loads in December. That was my busiest December ever. So people are keen to get married, and a lot of them, as Stephen said, are kind of relieved that it's a small number. I mean, I've people now booked for probably July, August, October, who are still doing small weddings because they decided that's what they wanted. It's not because they're scared, the restrictions are still there, it's what they want.
Yeah, we're really seeing that here as well, even into inquiries for 2023. It definitely seems to be something that's going to be with us for a while yet. And like in terms of obviously, for us, it's quite different. There's a lot less food and beverage in operation. But for you, Anna, how does a 6-person wedding to a 25-person wedding to a 50-person wedding, how does that impact you? How does that impact on the flower order? I suppose obviously they've maybe some less dinner tables to consider, but is everything else the same?
Everything else is people are even more keen to have more flowers is the feeling I'm getting, people want everything to be perfect. They want to make sure it's a real celebration. So it's things like in number 25, for example, everybody wants something on the door now, which, you know, some did, but some didn't. But now people go, oh yeah, that'd be lovely because it just sets the tone. The mantelpieces, you know, these are things they're looking for, those ideas. And also, I think maybe this is me giving them this idea, but I'm always saying to them, right, why don't we just hand tie things on your table so you can give them away as gifts afterwards, because it is the nearest and dearest that are coming to the wedding and they want to give them something, and it's lovely to be able to give them something to bring home with them. So, you know, nothing's going to waste.
Sorry, Anna. Yeah, no, I suppose it just feeds into the sustainability, I suppose, trend that's beginning to grow as well. That couples are just, it's not just single use with the flowers. It's not, you know, into a bin at the end of the day, like horrible to say, but that couples can actually take this away and I suppose hold on to them for a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's a lovely point. I suppose one massive change for us has been the lead time into a wedding. And so, I mean, you know, typically for us it would be at least 6 months, if not 12 months, which would be even short by normal standards. But that has been reduced massively to 2 or 3 months for us recently. Have you seen the same? Obviously you have, I'm sure.
Well, florists, you would have we always would have had 1 or 2 people who might have been like a year out or 2 years out, and some of them, especially ones that are living abroad and they want to get a feel for it, it's all being done over the phone or now by Zoom, so they are booking earlier. But we have a lot of short-term ones coming in, but people are putting more effort into the flowers. So I have more people this year who are maybe planning for the end of this year than I would normally, because they're seeing as it is more important. So whereas before they might go, yeah, okay, flowers, that's grand, we'll get some of those, they'll be fine, we'll organize them 2 or 3 months out, they're actually saying, well, actually we want this day to be fabulous, so I want to get organized with my flowers now. Some of them don't even have their bridesmaids dresses, but they're already you know, in the process of looking at flowers, which is unusual.
And do couples approach you with a very clear picture of what they have in mind, Anna? Do you know, obviously you would have a creative input there as well, but how does that whole process work? Or even, I suppose, could you even just explain to me how it works from inquiry up to event day? I mean, what does the process look like in selecting your flowers? Do they pencil you in and then that's it for a couple of months? Or tell me, how does that normally work?
Usually it's an inquiry either by, well, mainly through our website, so we get a lot of inquiries that way. So it comes in by email, we would make contact and saying, listen, can we give you a buzz? We chat to them, we have a Zoom call nowadays, usually would be invite them into the shop, and we have a chat about what they're looking for. So some of them have got very strong ideas, some of them have no idea, and some of them, the groom thinks one thing and the bride thinks totally the opposite, so you're almost stuck in between them trying to, you know, get them a path to what they actually really want. And then once I've got that initial feedback and maybe some photographs of things that they've seen and they like, and then I'll send them back things that I think might work, then I'd come back to them with a proposal and some sort of costings. And then at that stage, it's a question of tweaking it to see what we want this, no, we don't want that. And they would give me a deposit. And then usually I would speak to them again, probably 6 weeks out from the wedding. And then again, probably 2 weeks out. And that's usually how it works.
So not entirely different to ourselves, to be honest with you. No. Yeah, you kind of move on to that final detail stage. And then I suppose just generally then, trends for 2021, what are you seeing? Does that tend to be quite seasonal or is it more of an all year kind of a type thing?
It can be seasonal. It's maybe us that push the seasonality.
Okay.
People always, certainly for the last 5-10 years, peony roses. Everybody wants peony roses, whatever time of year it is, which is impossible. Peonies are about the only seasonal flower left to us, and they really have a short season. So if you're lucky enough to get married May, June, have peonies. So people love those. I think it's the perfume. Otherwise, it is really, it's usually coordinated to something that's in either the style of where the wedding's going to be. So there's a distinct style you'd have in number 25 as opposed to some, you know, the marker, for example, because they're kind of totally different. It's kind of working with that style and then the colors that they have. And then, if they want, again, the style of the dress really for me gives me the lead, really. If it's a big dress, then you need a bigger bouquet. If it's something very, very sophisticated and streamlined, you probably want a more, you know, simple bouquet to go with that. So then from the bouquet, everything comes from there. Once you've got those colors, that style, then it all leads through each of the areas in the venue, really.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And I suppose any advice, Anna, just you know, on couples getting married in 2021, what do they need to be thinking of for you, or I suppose when do they need to be talking to you? You know, when do
Yeah, well,
they?
when you when you have a venue, that's when to start talking,
Okay,
preferably with a bridesmaid's color, that sort of thing. Then come to us, and yeah, that would be the starting point.
yeah,
People living abroad, I think that was always when we used Zoom before, or Facebook, FaceTime, or whatever. But it's now, yeah, we're using that every single day. I mean, we're never off Zoom calls.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so that's really, really helpful when people can't come into us.
yeah, yeah.
Knowing the venue well helps us to help them, really.
Yeah, amazing. Anna, thank you so much. Another lady that's, I'd say, very familiar with Zoom at this point is Romy McAuley, our certified celebrant. Romy, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and hello to everybody who's watching.
Yeah, we've a great list of attendees there, and actually, can I just remind everyone the Q&A section is open there. If we've time, we'll come to it at the end, but if not, we'll definitely come back to it on our social medias with the Q&A later on this evening. So feel free to fire in any questions for our panel of experts. Romy, we'll maybe chat about I suppose, the nitty gritty and the legalities of the ceremony in a little while. But first of all, tell me what the past couple of months has been for you. Have you been busy through level 5? You know, how have ceremonies changed into level 5 and back to the 25 guests?
It's been all over the place, really. There's been, I mean, like with any industry, I mean, the wedding industry has been hit really hard, but it's kind of fluctuated. As Anna was saying before, December was busy. December is always busy, especially around Christmas. It's always a very busy time of year, and then this time of year is normally naturally quite quiet anyway. So we're kind of lucky that level 5, even though it's horrible to say, but level 5 sort of hitting in the last few weeks, because it's normally a quiet time of year for weddings in general.
Yeah. I suppose things would really be ramping up then from April generally for us.
Absolutely.
I suppose watch this space. Fingers crossed that we'll have a little bit of clarity. But how, I suppose, a little bit like what I was chatting to Stephen about, how have you found the atmosphere at the smaller, more intimate weddings in the last couple of months?
Well, personally, I love small weddings. Like, the smaller the better. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's always an amazing vibe when you have a large group of people, you know, when you are up around the 100 or whatever it is, so, you know, or bigger. But when it gets down to under 50, you know, the 25s and even the 6s, it's actually gorgeous. And I mean, I love it. It's so much more intimate. It's so much more, the couple themselves are a lot more relaxed, you know. It seems that they always kind of have a lot of pressure around them when there's more people there to, you know, oh gosh, how do we entertain them, and what are we going to do with them, and you know, the whole big day we have to sort of, like,
is everyone having a good time? Is, you know,
exactly,
there's
right. And that's always a big thing in couples' minds from way back, starting the planning all the way through to the day itself. But when it's a lot smaller and a lot more intimate, and you have just got your very close nearest and dearest there, it's that pressure just is lifted, and it's just really nice, and you can just see it in everybody's faces, you know. I mean, there's the normal nerves to start off with, because, of course,
yeah,
there always is.
There's
the
still that
ceremony.
big deep breath. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's gorgeous. I mean, we love that.
Yeah, that's why we do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen that too. I've definitely felt that too. And I think, you know, when you've 25 people in the room, they are zoned into what's going on at the top of the room, you know, compared to 150 people, 200 people where the phones are out and all of that. There's definitely no phones out when it's 25 guests, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, even with the smaller numbers and with social distancing and you know, I mean, of course, yourself and Stephen know that with the space that we have for the ceremony and chairs being sort of spaced out that little bit more, people are still very close, and there's no sort of distractions from other things going on, you know, people shuffling around or whatever. And so the focus is very much on the couple up at the top of the room, and people can hear and see and so be actively there with you a lot more as well. So
and tell me, so you've done a couple of level 5 weddings. What's the feel on people that have had to go ahead with 6? You know, so with us, we've couples that have gone ahead with 6 in that'll be the registry office even, and they are planning a big party in October, November. But is that translating across to you as well? So are couples booking? So, but will they do another ceremony? You know, will they have another ceremony before the
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Okay. I'm talking to couples every day about it, and having something that is that small, nice little intimate ceremony, you know, now at the moment. So over the next few months, and obviously with the unknown about what's going on with restrictions and everything over the next couple of months, and they are just looking at the fact of, okay, yes, let's just plan for something small now, and then be it if it's in 9 months or 12 months or a year and a half's time, we'll do the big day, and we'll have however many people we can get there on the day. But they are definitely still planning ceremonies for that big celebration as well. And it's lovely for us because, you know, I can sit down with a couple and we can talk about, okay, this is what's going to happen on this little day with just your immediate families there, and then we can move into what's going to happen on the other day with, you know, 150 people or whatever, and we can talk about how those two ceremonies will work and the differences between the two and everything. So, and that's really lovely because, you know, we get to work with them and they know exactly what's going on. So
so you're like, you could be looking at 2 completely different style even of ceremonies.
Oh, absolutely. So
we've seen some of what you do, so I know it's pretty broad. But I suppose a major change, Stephen has touched on it, Anna has touched on it, I introduced you on it, Zoom. How have you found Zoom at a ceremony? I think it's probably the biggest part of it all.
It's actually,
or the biggest change.
Yeah, it's definitely a big change. You know, I mean, obviously we're used to having like the photographers and videographers and everything around, but now you've got sort of like a little camera sitting off somewhere and recording, and everybody giving people a wave and everything. Logistically, there's obviously a few things to think about for the couples, and again, we're chatting to a lot of couples about it, and I help, be it if it's a groom or a groomsman or whoever it is that's setting things up, you know, earlier. And I know, like, I've worked with Stephen obviously a lot, so we've obviously been sitting there and, you know, putting the camera or the laptop or whatever at the place in the room where the couple are going to sort of get the best shot for the people that are looking in from wherever they are around the world. But it's lovely because you can actually still have those people involved with the ceremony, which I think is just absolutely amazing. So they could be in the UK or America or Australia or wherever, but they can actually still be an active part in the ceremony as well. And that's a big thing.
I think it's just accelerated it a little bit for weddings. I think this is, you know, I honestly think that Zoom will be with us for quite a while, the ceremonies, even long beyond number restrictions. But I suppose, and look, it's just a fabulous way to include people that really should be there on the day and just can't. But have you seen any contributions from Zoom? Is it a step too far, you know, for the readings or
No, definitely readings. Really? Absolutely. It's lovely, and especially if it's parents or immediate family that, you know, that can't be there and participating. I was just talking to a couple yesterday, and we have a ceremony coming up in a couple of months, and they're sticking with just themselves, they're witnesses, and they have 2 small children. But we're setting up the camera, and we're going to have everybody who's joining saying some little blessings and prayers and little things for the couple during the ceremony as well. So absolutely, it's a really easy way of getting them involved. But we've actually had even rituals. You know, I have a colleague of mine who recently had a ceremony with participation over Zoom, and she was having some of the families lighting candles and everything over Zoom.
Okay.
So everybody that was watching in was actually lighting candles and everything as well. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so nice to be able
Yeah,
to
it's
do
nice to
that
see a
and
bit of
keep that.
creativity coming through on the Zoom.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I think the key takeaway is delegate the setup on the day of the wedding.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I do not want to see brides or grooms running with cameras.
I feel very sorry for grooms. They kind of get lumped with a very long list from whoever the partner is that's at the venue. They do kind of get the short end of the straw with here's the list, make sure this all happens. Absolutely, I definitely say delegate. You've got other people there with you. Obviously, you know, with yourself, Stephen, who's at the venue on the day as well. Ask them to help set things up and everything for you, especially when you're looking at the live streaming and everything, a test run like ourselves earlier this morning.
Moving swiftly on.
Very important though, because as I said at the beginning, there are a few little logistical kind of things that's very important to sort of pass on to people that are watching, you know, keep them on mute and have things, you know, set up properly for them so they can see and hear and, you know, no disruptions. So.
Yeah, super. I suppose, look, Romy, that's all been great. Back to, I suppose, the everyday of your role and the nitty gritty of it, the black and white, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
And the green.
And the green folder. Yeah, tell me the customer journey. Talk me through a little bit of that, and I suppose any pointers on the legal side of stuff that everyone needs to be considering.
It's, as always, it is the most important thing that couples have to take into consideration when they start the journey of planning. I mean, I say it to everybody every day. It's the thing that you do have to do if you want to be legally married. You have to get into the process of registering your intent to marry, getting documentation organised, contacting the HSC in regards to Ireland here, and, you know, organising that side of the day, because
that's first point. That is the first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Job on the list.
Well, I always say from a planning side of things, you kind of have everything sort of mushes together when you start, but definitely a date, a venue, and the legalities all sort of go together. So because you have to coordinate everything. It's like when you do start looking at, I mean, obviously with myself, but with, you know, photography and bands and everything else, you have to coordinate everybody. And if you have specific suppliers and venues and everything in mind, you want to try and obviously coordinate the dates so they all work. So yeah, they kind of all sort of melt in together. But in regards to the legalities, you actually have two dates that you need to consider, because you've got obviously the day that you're getting legally married, but you also have the date that you must make sure that you've already notified the HSC. And there's a minimum requirement of at least 3 months before your wedding date. And that's a minimum of 3 months. Don't wait until you get to 3 months. Do it way before that. So, I mean, I normally say to our couples, when you hit sort of the 12-month mark, so when you're at your 12-month pre-anniversary of your wedding day, get started on the legal aspect, because it's something that you can do nice and early, and you can tick it off the list and get it all done and be ready. So
some sound advice there, I think. And then, so once all that's done, a couple contacts you, you have the date in the diary. What happens then?
Well then, I mean, from the ceremony side of things, obviously we get started on planning what the actual ceremony is about. So, I mean, I'm talking to couples, you know, like yourselves. I mean, it could be 12, 18, 24 months in advance of a wedding day, and getting stuck into, you know, things that they envisage the ceremony is going to be, and people participating and timing and where and when and who and how, and, you know, music and videography and all of that, you know, aspect of the day. We talk about everything that sort of happens in or around the ceremony, and then working its way sort of obviously towards the date. As you get closer and closer, it just gets more and more intensive. Okay, so what are you going to say, and how are we going to say it, and, you know, how things work, and readings, choosing rituals, and all the fun part. I love it. It's all the fun part. It's the homework for the couple, but it's all the fun part for me.
But it's what makes it personal, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And does that normally, historically, would that have been a face-to-face meeting? Would it have been 2 meetings, or what does it look like now?
It looks a lot more like this now. It would have normally been, I'd always try and meet a couple face to face if it's logistically possible. I mean, I have couples that come from all over the world, so sometimes it just has been sort of the Skypes and Zooms and WhatsApp calls and everything. But it is nice to, however it happens, if it is sort of sitting in a room over a coffee or if it is over a computer screen, I think it's really nice to have the 3 of us involved. So if it's the couple and myself, because I can see how they're playing off each other and the reactions that I get from the 2 of them and how they interact with each other. But it's normally at least 2 or 3 meetings like that. So be it if it is face to face or over the calls. And then lots of emails. Lots and lots of emails.
Yeah,
So,
where would we be?
I know, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's amazing insight, Romy. I suppose finally, do you have any just advice? What's your advice to couples looking to get married in 2021?
Well, the biggest advice is obviously make sure that you have the legal aspect ready and prepared early enough. Obviously, at the moment, the HSC all around the country, they're very busy. They're also, in a sense, in lockdown, even though the officers are working and they are doing meetings and appointments and everything and ceremonies and everything in the registry offices. But more than ever, it's very important to make sure that couples are starting that process early and getting the ball rolling. It's quite simple to do. You just need to contact your local registry office and tell them that you're getting married, and they will send you everything out. But it's also very important, and we haven't quite touched on it yet, but rescheduling dates and everything as well, that when you are rescheduling a date, if it's necessary to do that, obviously there's the legal side of things that you do need to also reschedule. So it's very important once you've been into the registry office and you have your green folder, which I'm sure most people have heard about. But once you have your green folder, which is the documents that we actually sign during the wedding ceremony, so they're your legal papers. Once your wedding date, that's written on that document, once that hits, so once we get to that date, that piece of paper becomes active and it's valid for 6 months after that day.
Okay.
So if you're getting married on the 1st of June, that piece of paper is an active legal document and it's valid for 6 months after that date. So if you were to reschedule and just sort of push your wedding forward by a couple of months, you can still use that piece of paper to actually be signing on the day of your ceremony. But if you're rescheduling for a lot longer out, if it's past 6 months, you do need to get a new green folder, essentially the new pieces of paper, which will have your new wedding date. And there's a bit of a process that goes into that by recontacting the HSC, sending that form back into them with your new date, and they'll go through the process of actually getting you organised with a new one. Green folder again. So there's a bit of process. It's very important that once you start to look at any sort of rescheduling, talk to your solemniser or your celebrant and get the information exactly how and what you need to do, because they'll talk you through everything. So
amazing. I think that's some really solid advice there, Romy, and it kind of just enforces what myself and Stephen were talking about earlier. Lean on your suppliers. You know, they're the ones with the experience and the know-how, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say we're available. You know, pick up the phone, have a conversation, and we can talk through whatever it is that you need advice on. But look, guys, I think we've gone over our 35 minutes, so we didn't get any questions, unfortunately. Feel free to keep sending those through. We might put up a Q&A on our Instagram to take any questions from you following our webinar this afternoon. But I suppose just I want to thank Romy and Anna for taking the time out this afternoon. It's been really, really valuable to have you here, and Stephen for your expertise as well. Thank you so much. From all of us here at number 25, thank you for joining us. We're going to be putting out a lot more video content over the next couple of weeks as we get some clarification on guidelines and what we're going to be working with into the summer months. So give us a follow at 25 Fitzwilliam Place. Our suppliers this afternoon, our panelists are all tagged in recent posts about today's webinar, so give them a follow as well. But thank you so much, yeah, Romy and Anna, hopefully we'll see you very, very soon, and Stephen.
Looking forward to it.
But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Have a nice afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.